I am Diane Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He is a president in myblendedlearning.com. And of course, an author too. He is the author of the upcoming book, Superperformance, none other than Mr. George Pesansky.
Thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome on Abstract Essay, Mr. George. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yes, I think of myself as an operations coach. I help organizations with execution. And I really have tried to focus on helping individuals, teams, and entire organizations really find and reach their full potential, which is what my upcoming book is really all about.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. Right, Mr. George?
Absolutely.
Definitely. And what inspired you to write Superperformance and focus on these 80 strategies?
This actually was not something I thought I would ever do. I've spent 30 years having, the most wonderful journey with having the chance to work with really large, important organizations, as well as a lot of small, struggling organizations, and having experiences to help them reach their full potential. And I reached a point where I felt that I had things that others may not always see or understand. And I really wanted to memorialize that so that many more people than just our clients and our friends who are aware of these strategies, I wanted to make them a lot more accessible, especially to smaller organizations and even charities that can benefit from really improving their operations.
Interesting, Mr. George. And the idea for this book came from a single experience, or did it build over years of working with leaders and teams?
In hindsight, I believe that it did come from a single experience. But at the time, like I think many things that happen in our lives, we don't appreciate those moments. We don't realize how important they are. But when you look back, you realize that was really transformative. It really changed who you were. For me, I was part of the military. I was participating in gunnery with my tank crew. And I was going to be transitioning from that role basically back to a desk job. And what I learned from those soldiers and how they inspired me to really reach my potential, and watching them reach their potential by giving them the support and really applying a lot of the strategies that became super performance was a moment where I discovered that anything is possible if you can really work together as a team and you can really support where our strengths are, but also find those gaps in the things that are preventing us.
Very well said, Mr. George. Very empowering. How do you decide on the structure of the book? Why 8 strategies and not more or fewer?
There's no doubt that the most difficult thing about putting together a body of work like this is not necessarily making the decisions of what goes in. It really is making the decisions of what stays out. And we started with, a much larger body of knowledge. And my criteria in coming up with these 8 strategies was that it needed to be something that you wouldn't find or is different than a lot of the other books that may really help organizations, the operational excellence and self-improvement books. There are so many that I have benefited from myself, and I didn't want to rewrite or rehash things that are already there. So for me, anything that I felt that already existed or was well explained, we left that to the reader and to all the other sources that are there and really tried to focus on what's unique, what's special, and how they can reach their super performance.
Were there early doubts about whether people would resonate with the concept of super performance?
I was not necessarily starting out to write a book. I've had a very successful practice in being able to provide training and support to really large organizations. And I've trained, thousands of people to be expert problem solvers and really master facilitators. I think of this book in some ways a little bit like the journey a comedian ends up taking. That they work in a lot of small clubs and they really try to perfect those great jokes. And they watch the audience and listen and respond to the things that are the funniest. And when they reach the point where they have what is sometimes called their tight 10, where they can go on, that evening show, they can headline in a large area because they have 10 really great, hilarious minutes. I really feel like I've spent 30 years working the clubs and working with individuals of all kinds of capability and background. And when we started the work on the book, it really was all of that material. And we tried to narrow it down to this tight 10, not based on what I liked or what I really felt was, special or unique. There are a lot of things that I would have liked to put in that I feel are very strong, but I really focused on what has resonated with our customers and what has made a difference for the people that we coach and support. And again, what is unique, things that they wouldn't find in other places.
What was your routine on or process while writing Super Performance, Mr. George?
Yeah. So, I like to think that I'm an expert in process improvement. So, when it came to making the decision, to having the goal of writing this manuscript, it was really about having a definable process. And for me, that meant having a schedule. And because I have a full-time job and a very full practice of work supporting, my customers, my clients, that meant I had to carve out time. And that was probably the most difficult thing, to set a very specific schedule, much like you might do if you're going to work out and every morning wake up and spend that hour on the treadmill. I needed to do the same thing. So I spent a lot of evenings and many weekends where this is what I focused on. And this is the time that I determined I would dedicate to really clearing my mind and trying to develop these ideas.
Interesting indeed, Mr. George. Did you set the strict writing hours or write whenever ideas struck?
I think a creative process is very difficult to force. And what I really kind of settled into was having a very structured time to actually do the writing. But I also found that I spent a lot of time thinking about what needed to be written and trying to remember, some of those great jokes, some of those great moments, some of that great material that has really resonated and has really, supported our customers, our students. So I kind of always kept the notebook nearby, whether that was a physical notebook next to my bedside or my phone where I was jotting all of those notes or taking voice memo. And what I found is that if I captured these moments of inspiration, these ideas that sometimes struck me at 3 a.m., I always had the raw material I needed when I sat down and said, what am I going to do with this? And I would have the things in the notebook, the ideas in the phone. And that really made a difference compared to staring at a blank page and trying to force myself to create something.
And Mr. George, how did you balance storytelling, research, as well as the book would be both engaging and actionable?
I really feel that one of the very big differences about super performance is how much of it is storytelling. And I have, talked to a lot of my friends, my, again, clients, and have shared obviously, my journey and the book that's going to be released. And many of them have not seen it. I've only shared it with a relatively small audience. And I tell everyone that they're going to be very surprised when they read the book because it really is a series of stories. And the 8 strategies are kind of framed in a storytelling model that are all experiences that I've had over these 30 years. And that was such an important structure for me because I was so heavily influenced by some great authors in this space, like Eli Goldratt, who really, in my opinion, used storytelling to be able to really frame very difficult concepts, very abstract thinking, but to do it by really effectively putting you in the situation. And I hope I did that justice. I really wanted to, unfold a situation that the reader could feel that they're in and help them better understand the point that I was trying to make.
And Mr. George, did you have a moments of writer's block and how did you push through them?
I wish there was only one moment, Daniel.
There's
there
a
was,
lot.
it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. And I think, in those set periods that I had for myself, what I learned was I called it the raw materials, these random ideas that I would write down or these memories of things that I wanted to consider including. I found that that was the antidote to the writer's block because if I did sit down to, kind of commit to completing a portion of a chapter or kind of finishing a story, and I didn't have any of that raw material, any of those ideas, any of the sort of generation, that brainstorming, it really didn't work. And I didn't feel good about the product. And most of that never made it past the initial draft. But what I found was there was a correlation between the brainstorming, the volume of potential ideas, not committed ideas, but potential ideas, and the opportunity to then be creative. Because if something wasn't working, I just tried something else. And I often, kind of got some traction with just a different idea then.
Definitely. And let's talk about the collaboration and production. Who played a critical role in helping you shape and refine the manuscript?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the great Peter Economy. He's the leadership guy on Inc. And he was so important to me in helping me really create what I would consider a professional work and extraordinarily valuable in his editing and in his advice and his support. And I believe, without his guidance, I don't believe we would have created what I am extraordinarily proud of today. I also would give a huge shout out to the team at Greenleaf, who are wonderful hybrid publishers that connected me with Fast Company. And I believe, this particular book, being somebody who loves books, I don't know that this is a book that would be created any other way. I have the actual finished copy now, sitting here in my office and still just completely amazed at the quality of the print, of the gold leaf, of the layout, just an enormously professional organization that helped me create something that I don't know gets created often enough today. So really proud to be a part of the indie publishing kind of culture, and really proud of what that entire team has helped me create.
Indeed. And how much input did editors have in shaping the tone, pacing, or clarity of your book?
Yeah. For any of the listeners who are, kind of starting this journey, or you're kind of thinking about, writing a book, this was probably the most difficult part for me. Uh, I had a really tight collaboration with Peter, and we worked, and I really believed, we had a kind of common perspective of what it is I wanted to achieve. And when it went to kind of the proofreading and kind of further editing, there were a lot of proofreaders who really had no background in continuous improvement or leadership, but they read the book as any other reader would read it. And they came back with some rather scathing kind of comments and ideas around things that were just unclear, or things that needed a lot more work. And I remember the call distinctly, telling the folks that I just need to explain it to them. I just need to talk to them, and they'll understand. And they clearly pointed out that you can't talk to every reader. The work has to stand on its own. So recognizing that no matter what you have in your mind, your ability to put it on the page and have other people digest it, although that sounds like exactly what you're doing when you write a book, I didn't fully grasp that concept until somebody took it away from me, read it without me looking over their shoulder and explaining it. And it was very healthy. I think it made a much better work.
Better work indeed, for sure. And Mr. George, as a president and a debut author, what are your short term and long term goals?
The short term obviously is to try to really get this message out. And the reason I want to get it out is I do believe there are organizations, large and small, teams, small businesses, and even young people who are just in the beginning stages of their careers. And I really hope that these strategies, all of them, but at least some of them, could make a real difference in the level of success your team has, or the opportunity for you to be able to get that that promotion, or make those improvements. So short term, I'm hoping really this book helps a lot of people, and really interested in kind of starting to hear those stories, and trying to spread that good. Long term, I think we're going to work really hard at trying to help charitable organizations benefit from these strategies, and really try to continue to expand this idea that your root cause of success, your ability to understand what helps you be successful, is really your superpower, and it is what can create that super performance. So long term, I'm hoping that we have a lot of really great success stories on helping a lot of organizations that deserve it.
Thank you for that goals, and good luck. And looking forward for more success, Mr. George.
Thank you.
And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be, of course, like you?
Oh, well, this is actually, part of the strategies, or at least one of the strategies. Take things in small bites. I call them target conditions. Don't look at the goal of publishing and releasing a book as the thing you're going to do today, because for me, this was a multi-year process. What I tried to focus on is all of the little steps, and really capturing that great idea, getting that chapter finished. That journey is always going to be one step at a time. I always like to say, if you're a little better tomorrow than you were today, you're always your best self. So just focus on being a little better tomorrow, getting a little bit done, and you're going to reach all those goals.
Yes, thank you for that advice. Empowering advice, Mr. George. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, I am a huge Stephen Covey fan, and I would say one of my most influential books is not his most popular. It's Principle Centered Leadership. Really kind of helped me understand servant leadership and the concept of empowering teams. So that was extremely important to me. There's also a book that's not necessarily as common, but I really would encourage people to take a look if you want to understand how to really share and communicate best practices. And it's called If Only We Knew What We Know, and it's by Carla Odell. A great book around just understanding best practices and sharing best practices. And then the great Marshall Goldsmith, the stakeholder-centered leader, or I'm sorry, stakeholder-centered coaching is also a huge favorite for me.
Huge favorite indeed. And thank you for that recommended book, Mr. George. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, People, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. George, looking back, what part of your writing or production journey taught you the most about yourself, if as a both a writer and leader?
You know, letting go, and it's the story I told of having people need to digest the work I've created independent of my personal interaction. I've spent my entire career as a coach, as a trainer, as somebody who interacts and loves being there on the manufacturing floor, working in operations and helping people succeed. Thinking about people potentially absorbing my work without my ability to explain it or answer questions was really the scariest and most difficult part of this journey. But I've now recognized that it has really helped me improve, because now I've really tried to get more clear and more, kind of good at sharing my message and communicating independent of, my personal interaction. So I'm hoping your listeners thoroughly enjoy Superperformance and really appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. George, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book?
Absolutely. GeorgePesansky.com is exactly where you can reach us.
So, where do people can buy your book, Mister?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and in indie bookstores everywhere.
Yes, I think it's available for pre-order, people. Pre-order, yes?
September 23rd, we're going to be shipping. So it's available for pre-order today, and anyone would like to get it will be shipping on September 23rd.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. George Pesansky, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. And the pre-order is the very important process of the book, because once the pre-order is something else, for sure this will be successful. So let's support Mr. George, people. So more to come, people. See you soon.
Thank you.